So storytelling for me should be limitless, and black storytellers shouldn't be expected to have to talk about certain things as if that's the limitation of our knowledge. Hello, my name's Shawn Sobers. I'm Professor of Cultural Interdisciplinary Practice at the University of the West of England. My title of the book is Black Everyday Lives, Material Culture and Narrative, and the subtitle is Tings in the House. It takes an archetypal Black British home, and it goes room by room, one object at a time. And then it takes a deep dive into those objects and gets into a kind of a cultural history of those objects and how that illuminates the narrative of Black British experience, and just really expand them to show how they're relevant for Black British culture today. So, for example, I grew up in the city of Bath, so predominantly a white environment, but growing up, my parents still brought us up in a very cultural atmosphere. My parents are from Barbados, so every weekend we'd go and visit family in London or Reading or other parts of Bath. One of the things that I always remember was, for example, in the front rooms of these houses, just seeing all the ornaments everywhere. The suitcase is one of the objects that I kind of focus on. And the suitcase then allows us to get into the narrative of the elders who left the Caribbean in the 1950s and 60s. And the suitcase is like a witness to those travels. So there's many books that talk about, the African-American experience. I definitely wanted a book that was Black British in flavour. I guess the book is like a bridge from that older generation to the younger generation. The elders that came over in the 50s and 60s are now in their 80s, 90s, or late 70s. So this book, in a sense, is almost like a museum for some of their stories and some of their memories, because we're not really going to get this opportunity again to hear some of those voices. I hope the book's going to have the impact of just opening some nuance into these narratives, really. And I think the book is full of nuance. It's about embracing those complexities. The kitchen chapter, one of the objects that I focus on is the Dutch pot. So the Dutch pot went to Africa, went to the Caribbean through transatlantic slavery. But then what happened? The Africans themselves took that object, but then made it their own. Now it's owned by that culture, in a sense. So we can only give thanks to our ancestors for their strength, for their resilience, for their ingenuity, and their DNA is still with us today. And if it wasn't for their creativity, we wouldn't still exist. And there'd be no such thing as the African Caribbean, if you like. So out of adversity, new things came created.